ដោយ Gas ម៉ាស៊ីនត្រជាក់ Dupont របស់សហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកឈានមកគេនៅក្នុងឧស្សាហកម្មបរិក្ខារត្រជាក់ជាង 80 ឆ្នាំ Dupont ភាពអស្ចារ្យនៃវិទ្យាសាស្ត្រ
Good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. Tonight, I have the pleasure to have a very good friend, but a former boss when I was working in Geneva for the International Trade Center. I'm just so happy that he's on vacation to Cambodia, and he has agreed to come to the studio and to have a nice small dialogue with me on Cambodia, because he was witnessing the whole development of Cambodia in the early days, pre-WTO accession, and 10 years later he's visiting, and I thought that it's the best opportunity to have him on my show and to share his perspective on what he thinks about Cambodia, and hopefully we can also have a sort of wisdom chat a bit. What can Cambodia do next when we're going to graduate into a lower middle income country? Denis Belisle used to be the vice president of SIDA Canada, ambassador a few rounds in different countries in Africa. He retired from the International Trade Center as executive director, but I will let Denis give his background on his own. Denis, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Siphana. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. I think you know this country. This is a country I like very much, and to return after 10 years already to see you, see the country where it is trying to reach is an enormous pleasure.
Denis, before we go on, I'd like you to give a bit of your background, you know, for the audience.
Okay, well, essentially, been involved with development, international development, essentially through trade all my life, in different capacities. I began at the Canadian Embassy in Washington, where my job was to liaise on a daily basis with the World Bank. I got a taste for that sort of thing, and then I joined the private sector for 17 years, helping a very large Canadian company to work abroad. And when I left, we were present in 64 countries. Unfortunately, not yours. It was essentially mostly Africa and Latin America, a little bit in Asia. And then I went to SIDA, as you said, and then I was ambassador in Africa. And then in ITC, where supposed to be for 3 years,
Yes.
ended up being 12 years.
12 years.
And this is where I had the pleasure of meeting you.
Yes.
And it's at that time that I first came to Cambodia in the late 90s. And you're right in saying that I had taken a special interest in Cambodia for a very simple reason. Our job in ITC, and same thing, WTO and UNCTAD, was to try to convince the developing world that it was to their advantage to join in WTO and participate in the world economy.
Yes.
And not everybody was convinced. Some who thought there was a good idea were not all prepared to invest the efforts that were needed to join and not only join in the talk, but to become a member.
Yes.
And I had a feeling when I came here the very first time, I met you,
Yes.
met the then Minister of Trade, who was Excellency Chan Prasid, and you had a small team of very active people.
Yes.
Who you really gave me the impression that you believed in what WTO could bring to Cambodia, that it was something shared by key ministers,
Yes.
that you had the blessing of the prime ministers, and you were ready to make the efforts.
Yes.
And efforts you had to make.
Yes, indeed.
Because I remember well that in very short period of time, I think came here late 90s and 2003 in Cancun,
Yes.
at the ministerial meeting, you joined.
Yes.
That was very fast.
Very fast. Perhaps as a matter of historical perspective a bit, that you know, the WTO was a successor of the GATT.
Yes.
In the 60s, Cambodia finished negotiation with the GATT in the early 60s, but somehow we never ratified, right? Our parliament never ratified. That explains why we have to redo de novo this whole negotiation.
Yeah.
And the thing is that at that time when LDC, and you among many other people in Geneva say, look, that's a one-way ticket for you to grow your economy.
Yeah.
Denis, let me tell you, we are now just a few years away from graduating from that least developed country status into a low middle income country.
This is really wonderful. You have all my congratulations. I must say I'm not surprised because the efforts that you then made to join, I'm sure you have not ceased. It's one thing, already not an easy thing to join. But once you're in, you cannot relax.
Yes.
You have to benefit from it.
Yes.
And nobody will...
it's just an entry. But once you're inside the room, you have
once
to work.
inside the room, you're at the party.
Yeah.
But you will enjoy the party if you get something from it.
Yes.
And, you know, I was really following closely throughout the accession period because I thought that you would make it rapidly and that we could use you as an example in other countries. And you know well that we've done precisely that at ITC, WTO, and UNCTAD.
I remember because as a result of that, I was invited by ITC, by you, by the WTO, to travel around the world pretty much to share the experience on how Cambodia did
Very much so. And I remember well sort of negotiating with your boss then.
Yes.
Sham Prasid first said, but I need him here.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, you do. I have no doubt about that. But you really can be of help to a number of LDCs. The neighbors first. But we have bigger ambitions. You know, planes travel fast.
Yes.
If he could go to Africa a day here, a day there, and because they would tend to believe him a lot more than us.
Yes.
By us, I mean those from Europe or from Canada, myself, and we were a member of GATT and very much involved. And in the case of Canada, we had no choice.
Yes.
We're a trading nation, like you will have to become.
Yes. Yes.
But hearing it from a person like you, knowing that a country like Cambodia had joined and was already using what we then called the integrated framework.
Yes.
There was an invention of the Singapore ministerial where for one, the 6 large agencies, that is, some large and a small one, ours,
Yes.
joined forces so that we ended up sending 6 teams at different times of the year, all calling on the same people,
Yes.
asking the same questions, and recommending different recipes.
Yes.
So the agreement between the trade ministers in Singapore, come on you guys, put your act together.
Yeah, I think it was like the IMF,
IMF, World Bank,
Bank,
UNCTAD, WTO,
ITC.
ITC, and UNDP.
Yes.
These were the 6. And it was not easy to bring everybody together. Some had superiority complexes, others had different things, but we had to bring it together.
Yes.
And I must say that for the developing countries, LDCs in particular, to see them come all together was intimidating a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think that you ever were intimidated by that. You saw an opportunity and you managed to do your homework faster than other countries, to be specific on what you thought you needed, and then to ensure that you would get it. And that is again something which we wanted to use in other developing countries. We wanted a person to say, we did join, it's possible. We're not a huge country, but we saw fit to join and we did. Now we're using the IF, Integrated Framework.
Yes.
And nothing prevents you from doing the same.
Yes.
And that did influence a lot of people.
Yes.
And I think that, well, most countries have joined since
Yes.
then, but some countries were at the accession process for 10 years or
Yes,
more.
indeed.
Gas ម៉ាស៊ីនត្រជាក់ឌូផុនរបស់សហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកឈានមកគេនៅក្នុងឧស្សាហកម្មបរិក្ខារត្រជាក់ជាង80ឆ្នាំឌូផុនភាពអស្ចារ្យនៃវិទ្យាសាស្ត្រ
As a matter of fact, Laos only joined last year.
Yes.
And already in a year's time, they see some transformation. Investment are going to Laos. I was surprised. I was there a few weeks ago, and I'm surprised.
But you should not be, because you know it's possible.
Yes.
I stopped following the development, on a daily basis. And even if I liked Cambodia a lot after my retirement in 2006, I was less, I was doing other things.
Yes, indeed.
And I was not
As you
following
should.
so closely. But I must say that I've been here for 2 days, and what I saw tells me the story.
What did you see? What's
What
your
I
impression
saw,
after 10 years of accession?
After 10 years, I saw a city.
Yes.
It was not a city when I came first time. It was
Yes.
a large town.
Yes, it was a large town, yes.
Now it's a city. I don't recall skyscrapers.
Yes.
I remember being on the 5th floor of a hotel.
That's it. That was the highest.
There were not too many more taller. You look around now and you see at least 30 stories, and you told me that there would be bigger one.
Yes.
Then you see cranes.
Yes.
They're all over the place.
Yes.
And what I see as well is that the type of properties that are built
Yes.
are probably largely privately owned.
Yes.
And government is well installed. Actually, I saw wonderful government buildings.
Yeah, the Peace Palace.
Very, very nice.
Yes.
But I see a lot of privately owned. Some may be foreign direct investment,
Yeah.
but I sense that there is some local investment,
A
as
lot
well,
of them also.
national investment.
Yes.
And that's the most important. This is very convincing. If you're a private company anywhere around the world,
Yes.
and I was with one large company long enough, each time I came to the chairman with an idea, let's invest here.
Mm.
There's one question. He didn't
Yes.
want to see the big studies we had done.
Yes.
One question, first
Yes.
question is, what do the private sector of that country do?
Uh-huh.
Do they invest at home
Yes.
or abroad?
That's a good.
That was the only question he asked. And then all the
Benchmark.
economists accompanying me were showing their graphs. And
Yes.
Chairman said, no, I'll ask you that later
Yes.
if I want to know.
Yes.
But I want to know from Denis whether the people from the country invest at home.
Are they investing at their own home?
And then and I knew him with time. And then he said, okay, who invests? Who do I know?
Yes.
Well, I don't think you know anybody that in that country. But no. Who are they?
Yes.
And what's the name?
Yes.
Or do they operate under what name? And even if I don't know them,
Yes.
through my network,
Yes.
I have someone who can check them out. And I
Denis,
want to talk to them.
in a couple of years, we to end 2015, will be part of the ASEAN Economic
Yes.
Community.
That's terribly important. And this is where the smaller businesses have to begin to export.
Yes.
A lot of people make the mistake of trying to export to far away, very difficult, demanding markets.
Yes.
Unless you have a product which is really top in the world in terms of quality and price, you don't begin with the most difficult places.
Yes, indeed.
You begin with the close by
Yes.
places that will pay a little premium for what they import rather than buy domestically,
Yes.
because they think that's a better product. And your manufacturers or producers learn what is it that you have to do differently Because to sell in a different country, you have to respond to the national taste, to the national desire, not to your own.
Yes.
Again, the case
taste and standard. Huh? Taste and standard.
Of course.
Phytosanitary, for example.
Of course.
Hygiene.
You have to follow those standards, but you also have to go one step beyond and find out how they want it. Not everybody wanted something painted in yellow. They are like other colors.
Yes.
To make it simplistic, but they want their own products. See, my country, Canada, a bit like yours, will do. Yours will become an exporter. It is already, but it's a bigger one. In Canada nowadays, 1 job on 5 depends totally on exports.
1 on 5.
1 on 5.
20%.
Exactly. And actually it's closer to 25. It's moving up. We're a small population.
Relying on export.
Exports. And again, there are similarities with Cambodia. That's why I say we're 35 million, which is not a big country, population-wise. And we produce with the same sort of methods as the Americans. And that's mass production.
Yes.
And unless we can sell to lots of countries, we cannot afford the same standard of living. We're condemned to do that.
Yes.
So what do? So we try to diversify our markets, like you will have to do as well. But we do not think we're good at everything either. We look at ourselves and say, now, where is it that right now we have a competitive advantage, or could have? In the case of Canada, there's a lot of natural resources, but to sell them raw, you don't make much money.
Yes.
So we have to transform them as much as we can. That you take huge amounts of money. So we were able to convince foreign companies to come to different parts of Canada. Western Canada, there's oil and gas. And Eastern Canada, hydroelectricity. And both are cheap. So those who need that, for instance, aluminum needs a whole lot of that. And so we were able to do that. And I'm saying this because I think in the case of Cambodia it's the same. You will have to look at where is it that you have a better chance of being ahead of the game.
Yes.
And I suspect that in addition to textile, the agricultural products is probably one of them. Quality of your fruits is fantastic.
Yes.
What do you do with them? You grow them everywhere. Do you turn them into juices? Maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Yes.
But I suspect you do not do it to the optimum level.
Yes. Okay.
We produce exotic juices in Canada with no raw material. All these fruits I see here, we have to import them. Why not convince one of those firms that have the technology to come and show you how to do it? And they need to benefit of it themselves.
Indeed.
But you seem to be very open.
Gas ម៉ាស៊ីនត្រជាក់ឌូផុនរបស់សហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកឈានមកគេនៅក្នុងឧស្សាហកម្មបរិក្ខារត្រជាក់ជាង80ឆ្នាំឌូផុនភាពអស្ចារ្យនៃវិទ្យាសាស្ត្រ
Yes, indeed. Economic-wise, thanks to the WTO commitment, we are very liberal.
It's very important. You need once you're in the WTO and you begin to, at first, this is joining is an element of comfort you give to a lot of people, national or foreigners. But then you ask yourself, how do I go to the next step? Then you need a lot of capital to do that. But you also need to have niches. This is where you begin to ask yourself, what do I do? And there, of course you want to
You're talking
diversify.
about here, trade diversification.
Trade diversification.
Product diversification,
but
market diversification.
within limit. Eh?
Okay.
Don't try to do everything.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Try to do
focus.
what you believe you're gifted to do best.
Okay.
Second, when the foreign company comes, they don't know yet what you have to offer.
Okay.
I think the medium-sized enterprise, the wise one, goes to that firm to say, now, what is it that you need to perform? I'm not bad at this or that.
Yes.
Still small, but we learn quick.
Yes.
You will be importing some of those things as big firms do around the world.
Yes.
Could we try to supply some to you as well? You know, there was a time around the world where the export game was one for big fish, just big fish.
Yes, yes.
And big fish were eating small fish.
Yeah.
That's nature.
That's nature, yeah.
Your small fish, how am I going to do that?
Yes.
Things have changed. The technologies of communication and the wells shrinking all the time.
Yes.
I believe now the fast fish are ahead of the game.
Will overtake.
You need not be big all the time.
But you need to be fast.
You need to be fast. And you need to be fast, you need to be different.
Yes.
And you need not to miss one opportunity.
Yes.
And you need to ask questions. A foreign manufacturer comes, you want to try to get a little bit of their business.
Yes.
Once you have that and you have their trust and respect, they probably ask you, can you supply this and that?
Yes.
And then your next step, you want to accompany them throughout the region.
Yes.
I understand you will be opening up a plant in here or there or there. You know, same quality as here,
yes.
and we're not far.
Yes.
It's not like importing it from Germany or Canada or the USA.
Yes.
We're here.
Yes.
And you know us. So I think you need to do that. The other thing, as you said, what do we do next? Terribly important to work on policies as you are.
Yes.
I think
I'm a firm believer of policy.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to, but be careful that policies are not written by bureaucrats only.
Yes.
Governments are the best to think about the long term and to write it down nicely.
Yeah.
But it's got to be implementable.
Yes.
And for these policies to be implementable and credible among the business community, they need to be on board.
They need.
And the mistake that a lot of countries have made is to let the government people think they're wise, they're intelligent, they're well trained, and they negotiate well.
Yes.
But if you come back from a negotiation round somewhere to explain to your business people, we've done a superb job.
Yeah.
Here's what we accomplished for you. And the guys are looking at you saying, oh, you did that.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be useful?
Yeah.
Do you think any of us can live with that? You made mistakes. The only way not to make a mistake
is to get them involved from the
get
get-go.
them involved before you go. Better. Bring them along.
Bring them along.
Bring them along. And that it took Canada a long time to understand that. Because we were not doing badly.
Yeah.
But one day there's a trade minister who said, I am not going to negotiate with you guys from my ministry alone anymore. And for you to tell me that you spoke to the industry and they want this and they want that, but I want them.
Yes.
I want them to accompany.
So the role of the private sector is very crucial. Huh? So Denis, we're coming to the end of the show. You know, 30 minutes is very fast. So you've been here 10 years ago. You helped Cambodia enter WTO. You now just arrived. You witnessed some development. But let's project to the future. What is your message for Cambodian future, next 4 or 5 years down the road? What would be your wisdom?
Very simple. You've proven that you can hack it.
Yes.
Clear, you see it.
Yes.
Now the population will want some of it. For the population to have some of it, you have to do an awful lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Because generating revenues
Yes.
is not so easy.
Mm.
And sharing them
It's harder.
is an equally big challenge.
Yes.
But you won't be able to share anything unless you create it.
Yes.
To create it, you must carry on with the efforts, be wiser than the neighbor, and bring the population on board. Population will be patient to a degree if they understand, if they trust.
Yes.
A little bit of transparency, plans whereby they can believe that if they suffer a little more, a little longer, to put the best they can do together,
Yes.
they will share in it in a big way. Look at the tremendous development of China,
Yeah.
different scale,
Yeah.
but the same thing. I did not understand that so many Chinese would accept for so long not to get much
Yeah.
of the benefit.
Yeah.
But somehow they were, enough of them, believe that in the long run they will get a lot.
They will get it.
And they're getting a lot, more and more.
Yeah.
So you need a middle class, a
Yes.
larger middle class, and I think, I know you can get it.
Yes.
And the recipe together, my little recipe is private, public together, a game plan, policies that people understand, and delivery.
Yeah.
And you can do it all.
Wow, Denis, thank you so much for a tourist. You do share with us some very good perspective, a lot of wisdom on that. So on behalf of the audience and studio, let me just say thank you for coming. And
Thank
it's
you
a
for
pleasure to see you.
inviting me. It's a country I love.
Yes.
Delighted to see it progressing the way it
Yes,
is.
yes. Thank you.
Thank you to you.
Yes. Well, we're coming to the end of the program, and for me, for this 30 minutes glimpse, to have a chat with somebody that is very dear to Cambodia, who has seen Cambodia pre-WTO accession, who helped Cambodia through the accession process, and disappeared for a while. He took retirement and everything, went to enjoy life, and 10 years later he come back as a tourist, bringing friends from Canada. And to have this neutral, very independent view on how Cambodia has progressed along the development path, it's quite a heartwarming experience. But foremost, I see a lot of wisdom behind his perspective that, look, it's easy to build, to get growth, but we have to start looking at redistribution of that growth. People have to start benefiting the fruit of that growth. And, then how do we do it? He mentioned clearly the notion to have public-private sector partnership so that together they can prepare appropriate policy that can be implementable. I do agree. We can draft very good policy from the bureaucrat perspective, but if the private sector do not understand or cannot implement, it serves no purpose. So I would say public-private sector partnership together help design policy that is pro-private sector, pro-growth, pro-poor, pro-inclusiveness. And after that is just one word: delivery, 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 and delivery. And I think this is where Cambodia will have to push for the next several years, is to bring that delivery to the people, so that the people, whether they in Phnom Penh, I think in Phnom Penh they start to see the benefit already, but we have to have this ripple effect at the countryside level, at the provincial level, so people can say, look, I'm glad the country grow, but I'm also a beneficiary on that. But on this, we need to work together. The politician, the private sector, the trader, the academics, the student, we all have to work together. So on that note, I'd like to close the evening and wish you a nice evening. Good night.